Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Outside Insider podcast here on Philly Sports Network with myself, Liam Jenkins. You know the score by now, all things Eagles related, stuffed inside a can of Coke like a Mento and just exploding through your ears, not in a dodgy way, okay? I'm excited beyond belief to bring you this episode today because for the first time in what feels like forever, there is Eagles news that has dropped before the podcast as opposed to dropping about 15 minutes into it or after it's recorded, making my show irrelevant. So for once, we're actually doing something good. Minor quibble though. Lads, I've had to go above and beyond for this. I've had to go above and beyond. The internet at my office does not exist at the minute, which means I've had to walk to the office to record this with this green screen for the video version. Hello YouTube, how are you? Love you guys. And then upload it at home. So we're going above and beyond just to get this show out. So if you could show it some support, that would be amazing. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify. We're on Amazon Podcasts now. We are on basically everywhere you can get your podcasts. I've even heard you can get it from an old style saloon bar where there are cowboys that still exist. And that's why we're going in there, to beat them. See? Metaphor. But if you could follow one of the links in the description to either Apple Podcasts or Spotify, PSN Radio, you don't just get my podcast, you get Flipping the Birds, you get every single podcast PSN puts out. We have got 7 on our roster right now. That's one every day of the week, boys, all right? We've got another one that's a bit more informal called Left on Red. There's so much to look forward to, so it'd be great if you could follow along. If you're an old subscriber of the show, make sure you're on PSN Radio because that's where it's going to be now, all right? So you've got to bring that love over and all will be right in the world. But let's dive into the news then. The big thing to come out today that I would say ruined my show, but that would be wrong. I'd say reshaped it, probably fits it a bit better, is that the Eagles are bringing in a running back for a workout over the weekend. I don't know how that's going to look given that they've got a game on Sunday. It is at home, which I suppose helps, but only time will tell. It's apparently on the transaction wire, although I couldn't find it unless there's 2 transaction wires. But the man in question is Devonta Freeman, formerly of the Atlanta Falcons, and a running back who the Eagles have had interest in all off-season. Now, I don't mind this. On the surface, I love the move if they go in and sign him. I think we all learned a very harsh lesson the other week where Corey Clement and Boston Scott do not hold a candle to Miles Sanders in pass protection. They were about as useful as a flannel in a flash flood, or in America, a cloth. And they had no penetrative ability moving up the middle, okay? All of the runs seem to be predicated on outside. They wanted outside zone, screens, sweeps, whatever, just get them outside the tackles in open space where they can carry that speed. And they were lacking that thumper that they had in Jordan Howard, who coincidentally they didn't replace. And if only I could think of someone that was trying to make them replace him for... Oh, it was me! You know, it is what it is. But basically, the Eagles have done a thing where they've just let it get so bad and then taken the action. It is like watching an earthquake happen, taking no precursive measure, no caution, no precautionary measures to get people out of the village or whatever, letting it all turn to rubble, and then going, right lads, we're going to bring you food banks, we're going to put up temporary housing so you've got somewhere to live. Yeah, up the government. Well, like, yeah, but you should have done that. But before, you should have prepared for this. Like, the signs were on, the warning signs were everywhere. I think everyone could see this a mile away. The second Miles Sanders' status was in doubt for week 1, the Eagles should have acted on it. They should have done something there and then. And instead, they just tried to short ball wide receivers. They just tried to short ball running backs. They just didn't want to pay them. They didn't want to pay above a veteran's minimum. And that's fine. Like, that's okay. But then you see guys like Carlos Hyde get snapped up and LaShawn McCoy get snapped up, who chose Tampa Bay over Philadelphia. And you understand a bit more about, well, maybe they should step up the game a little bit. If they're going to pay Jason Peters an extra $3 million, maybe they should spend that on a running back as well, because it doesn't feel... You can't have the best of both worlds, boys, you know? It just felt a bit late. But either way, I'm happy they're doing it. It's going to take a significant strain off the shoulders of Miles Sanders if he were to pick up an injury, which, if he did at this point, minor quibble, they might be a bit dead. So they need to bring in this running back. And there is one really interesting thing about Devonta Freeman that I wanted to point out in this show. And a big hat tip to Chris Infante, host of Flipping the Birds, writer at PSN, who's in his second season with PSN now. Both Brian and Chris are, so up the boys. All right, we love to see it. He spent a year with Rich Scangarello in 2015 in Atlanta. And during that year, played 15 games, 13 starts, had his highest average career yards per game at 70.4, and the league leading 11 rushing touchdowns, as well as a career high in receiving yards with 578. So if there is anyone that knows how to get the most out of him, it's Rich Scangarello. Someone that I may or may not have criticised a little bit earlier this week, but that's by the by, okay? That's by the by. Since being drafted, Devonta Freeman has the 8th most rushing yards when there are 0 to 3 yards to go until a first down. He has the 10th most first downs in that time span. So the Eagles clearly have done their homework here. They know the type of bat they want. Again, I don't know why this hasn't been done sooner, but it's been done now. It's like having a birthday present late. Was it the present you wanted? Yeah. Is it a month late? Yeah. Have you got it anyway? Yeah, just, you know, beggars can't be choosers, lads, okay? Beggars can't be choosers. I, for one, like the move. This doesn't mean that the Eagles have signed him. I do think it's probably a good sign they might do, though, given the instability at the running back position. I mean, I'd said all along that the second they signed Justin Huntley, there was no way he was going to see significant action. I think he had one carry that went nowhere in week 1. You then looked to Boston Scott, did nothing. You looked to Corey Clement, did nothing. Pass protection was dreadful. I think it was far more on the running backs, having watched you all 22, than the offensive line. So I think they have to play this safe. They have to go out and get the guy they want. Now, is Devonta Freeman going to come in and be a Jordan Howard, like thunder and lightning back? I don't think so. I think in terms of role-wise, you're looking at a much more Jay Ajayi type role because, I mean, Deuce Staley all offseason, the Eagles' whole premise of not signing a running back was they believe that Miles Sanders has such little wear on his tyres, bearing in mind the lack of carries he had at college after being stuck behind Saquon Barkley at Penn State for so long. And they believe that not only does he have the tread on tyres to become a workhorse back, but that he's got the requisite skill set. He can pass protect, he's good in open space, he's rapid, he's now getting more decisive, and of course is a great receiver of the ball, that they don't need to worry about rotating in and out because he fills every role. It's not like you need one specialist for receiving, one for pass protection like Darren Sproles, one for going up the middle like Jordan Howard. They don't need that anymore because Sanders can do it all. And because he has had no, until now, significant health concerns, why wouldn't they? And Deuce Staley was very open with that with the media earlier this year. So I don't think you're going to see Devonta Freeman get 10 to 15 carries a game. I'd say anywhere between 4 to 8 if he signs would be the benchmark. And it's probably, if I'm honest, why Freeman is held out for so long. Like, if you're going to sign a minimum deal, you want to get the best space you can. You want to get the best situation you can to go in, make an impact, and actually, more than anything, have a chance to earn a bigger future deal. The guy's in his late 20s now. You know, he's had his breakout years. He's had his run at a Super Bowl. He's had that spike, that young running back spike. And now it's like, I need to sustain. And if I get put in a situation where I'm stuck behind 2 other running backs, or Boston Scott's getting carries ahead of me, why would I take a pay cut after leaving Atlanta and not maybe trying to play sweetheart and stay there on a cheaper deal? And that's what it ultimately comes down to. So, do I think the Eagles will sign Devonta Freeman? I think they'd certainly lean that way. Obviously, it depends on the workout. But I think at this point, they've done their homework. It has been back and forth for so long. Freeman's got to make his decision. I know he's been keeping his options open. It's a good fit for the Eagles. It's a good fit for Freeman. It's very much come at a time of emergency. It's too little too late, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, there's 15 weeks of the season left to go. And if the Eagles can get that insurance policy from Miles Sanders, even better. Now, guys, we are going to end this segment here, okay? So, the way this works is that this podcast gets split into 2. The first segment gets put for you guys on YouTube. The rest of the show goes over onto exclusive podcast platforms. So we're talking Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We're going to talk a lot today, some about Fletcher Cox, some about Darius Slay, and answering your questions as well. So if you want to hear that, make sure to subscribe or follow down in the description below. That's where you can catch the podcast that's going to come up shortly after this video. The whole hour-long episode. There's a lot to get through. Hopefully I'll see you guys there. Let me know what you think about the workout down in the comments. I'll see you